Hello and welcome to Skuaredot's podcast. For our 10th episode, we have a very special guest, Brilly. He's an NFT artist who has been selling digital art for the last few months with great success. Okay, so first of all, introduce yourself a bit.
Yeah, how far back should I go? My name's Dave, also known now as the artist, Brilly, formerly known as the artist Locked and Loading, and I'm a digital artist, a 3D animator, and just all around creative person. And born and raised in the U.S. in Philly. I now reside in Florida, and my specialty, I'd say, is 3D in as far as like design goes and aesthetic. Really have always enjoyed working with musicians. Most kind of discovered that in my journey through pretty much just art in the digital world, and getting fortunate enough to work with some big musicians, and then I discovered that they're like my favorite people in the world to collaborate with and build projects with. And so that one thing led to another. So now I kind of run my own studio, and I also am a 3D animation professor. So I don't know, lots of stuff to talk about.
Great, so right now you're into this NFT space, but that wasn't always the case, right? How did you start your journey in 3D design?
Yeah, so I was traditionally trained in graphic design. That's what I went to college for, was graphic design. And I still think like this is one of the things that is very beneficial to my career, is graphic design and discovering good taste. And not just discovering good taste, but the fundamentals of design are the utmost important. You don't want to move ugly. You don't want to animate ugly. And it's like, so you first have to just make something look good. And I think it's easy to get sidebarred a little bit and focus on all the cool software and tech and things like that. But really what comes down to is just a good, proper design. And so that was like the start of my creative journey, knowing that it was going to be a career, was training in graphic design. And then I think towards pretty much my senior year in college or university, towards the end of that, I discovered 3D. I wanted to make all my work move. That was the first thing. And so graphic design was all static, and I was like, I really want to animate it. And then I was like, I want to give it depth. And so I just started teaching myself 2D animation programs like After Effects, and then taught myself the 3D software Cinema 4D. And that was pretty much it. The minute I discovered animation of graphic design, moving graphic design, and then discovered 3D, I just never looked back. And the minute I touched a 3D program, I realized that was something I was insanely passionate about. I found myself just working on anything 3D at any given time of the day, all day long, and I haven't stopped ever since.
Okay, so first of all, before we start, because I set a poll on Instagram, and apparently no one knows what an NFT is.
What?
Yeah, I know. Maybe they didn't want to answer, but thousands of people watched the story, like 3 replies, and one of them was, I know 0 about NFTs. So should you explain, or?
Yeah, I'd be happy to explain and kind of give like a brief overview. I think if I had a computer science degree, I could explain even more. But if you don't want to go into that much detail, then I'm your man for it. So basically, an NFT, it stands for a non-fungible token. It works off the blockchain, so it works off the Ethereum network. So if you're familiar with like cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, you'll be able to like understand the grasp of it and at least the value of it for sure. And so the value really comes in because this is like my favorite thing to say, because it can just sum the whole thing up. It's the first time in history where someone can prove ownership, and prove transfer of ownership to someone else with a digital asset. Period. All right. So that's why this is such a huge thing. And you really want to learn and know what NFTs are because of that reason right there. Never before in history could you prove ownership over something. So if we just like take art, for example, right? If you take and like crypto art, right, on the NFT, on the blockchain, The reason this is so valuable is that before, if I wanted to like, if you wanted to buy a piece of my art, right? You see something I have on Instagram and you're like, that's really cool. Well, you could just take that art now and you could then give it to somebody else, or someone else could go on my Instagram page and download that piece, and just like that, like how do you, and that person then gives it to someone else and they give it to someone else. How do you know who's the real owner of that piece? You really don't. And so that's like solved now. You can now um finally prove that one person can own those specific things, and on the blockchain it's up there. So the blockchain keeps everything in order, and you can always see all the history of transfer of ownership, and it can't be broken into. And so it's an amazing thing. Like, it's not just going to be for crypto art. You're going to see that smart contracts, all sorts of contracts, and I mean, it's going to be limitless. Like licensing deals, all sorts of stuff is going to be done through the NFT space and on the blockchain because of its proven ownership ability.
Yeah, I think there's a very important thing about NFTs, and it's that they cannot be like duplicated. There's only one, or there's only 10, however many you set, but you cannot make more of the same thing. So what I see in the future is, if I wanted to have like a digital copy of my ID, like my ID card, I would want an NFT of my card, because that way I know no one else can use my identity without like actually taking the NFT from me.
100%. It's amazing, right? It's like once you understand it, it's like what we should be having all forms of identity through NFT.
Yeah, and there are some problems with it, but maybe we can get into that later on. How did you discover NFTs?
It's been over within the past year. I didn't know about them prior to that. And then I didn't really see or understand the ability to really do artwork on there until probably about September, early September. I started noticing it, and I was like, wow, this is really kind of amazing, you know. And I saw it kind of as a space that I was like, I'm this is exactly what I've been doing for the past decade, but I've never had an outlet to distribute it on. And here it is. And so I was really intrigued, because I feel like for the past decade I've been unknowingly building for a space and opportunity like this, and all of a sudden it was here. And that was my first discovery of like NFTs. And then I made my first like NFT drop happen like a month ago. Yeah, like a month ago, almost to the day.
And how have NFTs changed your life, or your these months that you've been like really active into the NFT space?
I've completely stopped all client work. I have no intention of accepting a client project that would come in right now. You know, like it would be very, very rare for me. Like some insane opportunity would have to like happen for me to like change my mind. Otherwise, it would have to be like some insane celebrity that I absolutely love would have to come and propose like a project to me of some sort. Like otherwise it's just no to everything. So it definitely changed my life in the past couple months, in the fact that I pretty much know for a fact that any studio that would reach out to me right now to do work with them, I would say no. Now, I used to say no to most jobs that came in. I would say no to about 99% of all projects that came in my way, but I've only kind of grown into the ability to do that over the past few years. So NFTs haven't really changed my life a whole lot, because I was already doing this, you know. I was doing it, and I think the people that you'll find that are successful in this space and aren't in it just for a cash grab will have a proven history before this moment of doing this, because for the love of the craft and not because of anything else, you know. And so that's kind of why I would like go out on a limb and say it hasn't changed my life. It's made me happy because this is what I've always wanted for my digital art industry, to be able to have something where we're respected as artists, as the fine arts community has been for hundreds of years. And I've been deeply wanting that for a long time, not just for me, but for everyone. And that's here. So like, it's impacted me a great deal mentally in a very, very positive way. But as far as like lifestyle changes, it's not really impacted me at all, because I've been living this. I've been doing this way prior to NFTs. And if NFTs were to disappear tomorrow, which they never will, but if they were, I would still be doing this.
You're doing an NFT drop on Monday. What sort of work do you have to do now preparing for the drop on Monday? Or Tuesday, right?
Yeah, it's
Tuesday.
On Tuesday, correct. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, on Tuesday, 4/20, April 20th is the drop date. But yeah, at this point, it's really just building materials to help promote it and let people know, because the thing is with these drops is they go so quick. They really go quick. The auction pieces, the single editions and stuff like that, they last for 24 hours. But like the limited edition stuff, it's 15 minutes. And then the open edition is going to be for 4 minutes and 20 seconds. It's like, that's it. It's in a blink. And so right now, and that's it. And then you can't buy them anymore. It's like off the table forever. And so right now it's really just like putting some material together. I've got the call with you right now, like stuff like this, just making these moments possible in my schedule. I've got another one after this, and it's just like building and getting word out there and talking with people, hopping on Discord groups and channels, hanging out. And the idea too is like, don't just like sit there and like sell the whole time. Like actually like go and like hang out on Discord and just like chat with people. Go on to Twitter and just chat with people, comment on other people's stuff like that. Don't just like go into the day and be like, today is sell day, sell. It's like, no, just be a normal human being, but like participate, maybe a little bit more than you would. Yeah. So that's my next couple days.
Okay, cool. Whenever you're doing a drop, you have to make these art pieces into this NFT, which is essentially just like a number. And I believe that costs money in fees, right?
Yeah, correct. They call them gas fees, actually. And gas fees go up and down. So there's not like one set standard for a gas fee. You can look it up. There's a couple sites, I don't know them off the top of my head, that you can look up and see what the gas fees cost during that time. But yes, the minting or tokenizing process of the NFT does cost money.
Okay, so the sites you mentioned, I think ethereumprice.org/gas, I think that's one.
There
and then
you
you can look gas prices. But I think when in pages like Maker's Place, which is an NFT marketplace, whenever you pay in Ethereum, the buyer pays the fees, I believe. Like at least when I bought in Maker's Place, I paid the fees.
I think the buyer pays a fee for the actual transaction of the purchase. Like the fiscal transaction is what there's like more than one fee, right? And so there's a fee to mint the work, then there's a fee to like buy the work and like exchange money. I think that could have been the fee that you paid. There's there can be up to 3 fees that I've heard of.
Okay, so when you like upload the NFT, you have to pay, right?
Correct.
Whenever you see artists dropping for like $1 drops, they're actually losing money on that drop.
Yep. I think it is important to say though that at first it sounds like a $1 drawing, the artist would lose money, but technically I didn't lose any money. I ended up doing $51. I had two 25s, 225 edition $1 auctions, and that's US dollars. And so yes, like technically I lost money at first, but it's the secondary market that you gain more money now, because instantly people will either turn them over. Actually, most people, surprisingly enough, the my $1 auctions, everybody's holding, and they've jumped in price. They're like, I think the lowest one's a couple $1,000s, and the highest one's like tens of thousands of dollars. And so, as a part of it, I think strategically, it's important to kind of give back to people who want to collect your work, and that's why I did the $1. If I just looked at it right on the face, it's like, why would you give it away for $1? And well, it's like financially that doesn't maybe make sense on the surface, but it's more than just financial as far as I'm concerned. It's about making people who collect the work feel like they got something of value, and it was really just my appreciation. And I wanted to give also people that maybe couldn't afford my other pieces an opportunity to actually be able to still own one of my works. Oh, on the secondary market, though, the artist does get 10% of all sales after. That's an important, probably should have mentioned that. So that's why I was mentioning on the secondary market.
Yeah, so when you buy a piece and then you sell it to someone else, the artist actually gets 10% of that transaction. And that's thanks to the NFT thing where you can track all transactions.
Yep. It's absolutely amazing. And I think that is a lifestyle change right there, that the artist never can get written out of the sale of their art. Beautiful.
Yeah, because like you said, well, I think let's take for example the Beeple because that sold for like so much, because it's really like exaggerated, but someone else bought it for I'm not sure how much, but maybe a couple $100,000.
Yep.
But then sold it for 70 million, and then Beeple, this artist, wasn't like cut out of the transaction. He actually got 10% of that.
Yep, and that's happening to him all the time. He had another one, sold it for a few $100,000. He made that few $100,000, right? Minus the cut. The platforms take a 20% cut typically, so he made 80% of that. But then it sold again for 8.8 million. He got another 10% of that. 10% of 8.8 million is pretty darn good.
Yeah, definitely. And the platform's also getting a cut, so they're also making a bunch of money.
Yeah. The platforms are making an insane amount of money. I did a small calculation one night and just added up one of the platforms, and on primary sales alone, they were pulling in with their cut. So percentage is all done, $2 million a night on average, and so that brings them to about $1 billion a year.
Wow. A few months ago, they were like no one knew about them, because
Yeah.
I believe NFTs have been around since like a long time.
They've been around a lot longer than I've known about them. Yeah.
And the big question, is there a bubble?
Yeah. So I think that's an impossible question to answer, obviously with a definite answer. So it'll be all opinion based. I think there's a very high possibility that there's a bubble. I think it's going to affect a lot of NFTs. I think art personally will be affected the least. Art has a general stance to appreciate in value across the board, across history. Art depreciating is not really something that happens. And if you take a look, if I give my sayings about like my work, I don't see how something's like overvalued than what I think it would be normally at a traditional art gallery house or something like that. I actually think a lot of stuff is way cheaper than it is, but that will go up. I'm not worried about that. But as far as the bubble, I don't think it's going to affect art as much as it's going to affect other instances, and one of those being maybe like NBA Top Shot. Let's use that as an example. An NBA Top Shot, basically, they sell highlights of moments during NBA basketball games, right? Great moments, awesome moments. They're fantastic. However, what history has shown us is that outside of like, we'll just use basketball. I don't know if the viewers are a whole lot of basketball fans out there, but that's what NBA Top Shot is, and so that's why I'm choosing that sport. other sports will get in WrestleMania, WWE or whatever. I don't know what they're calling it now. One of the wrestling ones is in on it now too. But the basketball one, for example, what history has shown us is that, let's say, sports cards, right? Whether that's for football, whether that's for American football, baseball, basketball, what it's shown is that those trading cards are valuable if you have a top 50 player of all time. If you don't have a top 50 player of all time, I mean, you're going to get a couple dollars. It's like, ooh, that one's worth $9. It's like that. And so when you see people on there like that it's like they're very talented. They're I mean, you can think of it with any sport. I know football is insanely popular in Europe. Think of a player that's on a team and you're like, they're really good, they're super popular right now, but would you categorize them as they're going to be marked down as a top 50 player of all time? And it's like, no, maybe top 100 or top 200 for sure. And it's like, yeah, they're awesome, great player, but guess what? They might be able to sell an NFT right now for tens of thousands of dollars. And I look at that like, that's a bubble. That's definitely a bubble. Because if we're saying all athletes now are going to jump in on this, then immediately it's like, okay, well, the Messis are going to be valuable. The Ronaldinhos are going to be valuable. Yeah. Like there's going to be certain, it's like, yes, 100%. If they do an NFT, buy it. 1,000,000%, or try to if you can afford it. Like the Michael Jordans are going to have one. Like the list goes on. We all know who those people are, and I think if you go outside of that, yes, I do believe we'll see a bubble eventually. But and maybe it could be the same thing with art. If you're one of the top 50 digital artists, your value is going to retain. If you're not, then you could drop off. But see, art's a little different too, because there's like, even as it stands right now, there's like a bunch of traditional art galleries and new artists pop up all the time and get brought in, and they might not ever be the most like well-known, like the Monets, the Picassos, or Dalis, but they are going to be able to sell their work for tens of thousands of dollars and make a living. And so I think we'll probably just see levels to it eventually. It's still very new. There's still a lot of very talented people that haven't risen to the top. And I've been saying this expression a lot because people are getting down about it. I always say, hey, don't forget, the cream always rises to the top, right? And so just be patient, keep working on it, and your talent, you'll make it up, and so there's a lot of artists that are, I wouldn't say weaker, because there's no reason to be mean about it, but there's artists at different levels, and some that haven't put in the work and their work's not quite there yet, they could still use some time developing, are getting a lot of notoriety and making a lot of money. And so artists that have been doing it for a while and are really talented that aren't getting that are getting jealous of that moment. So I think there'll be some leveling out, but yeah, to like just sum it up, I think there can be a bubble, and most likely will be a bubble, but I think the art will be affected very minimally.
Yeah, where I sort of see, I'm not sure if it's a bubble or not, but there is certainly like a big difference between different marketplaces. So for example, Nifty Gateway, a drop there would get like thousands of like sales or mints, but like Maker's Place, like barely anyone goes in there, and it's pretty much same artists and same everything, but just one's crowded, the other one's empty.
Yeah, and finding a place that, and this is where it comes down to a lot of like, just put the work in. If you want to get on a platform like Nifty Gateway, which I think is the most exclusive platform to kind of be able to get on, look at the artists that are on there, and I'd say the majority of them have been doing this for quite a long time, and have been building up a name and a reputation for a while. And if you don't feel like you're there yet, just get there. Just know that it takes time. Keep your head down, stay strong. Don't feel like you're not getting in there because your work's not good. Just realize you're not getting in there because they're also over a year out on applications, I was told too. These platforms have gotten absolutely flooded with artists trying to get onto them, and it's like they don't have teams of thousands of people to like go through. It's like there's like 10, 12, a dozen people like going through thousands of applications a day. So it's like they're just completely overwhelmed. And that goes with all of them. That goes with Nifty. Super Rare was like, last I heard, was like 6 or 8 months behind as well on looking through applications. It's like that, you know. So just be patient. It's very new right now. Everyone's going to get their chance. You know, Beeple said a good thing. He said, guys, like, everyone calm down. This is the first inning of this. You know, don't try to move too fast into this scene. We're in the first inning.
So let's talk about your next drop on Tuesday.
Yeah, so the next drop is with a collaboration drop with me and a legendary music producer. His name's Scott Storch. And if you don't know Scott Storch, you definitely know his music, you know, from music like Still Dre with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg to producing Beyonce's entire first solo album with Christina Aguilera, with Justin Timberlake, with Lil Kim, Fat Joe, 50 Cent. Like, the list is, it's just outrageous, you know. When you start going through it, you're like, wow, okay, Scott Storch has got one of the craziest music catalogs of all time. And so that's my drop on Tuesday, and it's an audio visual collaboration. Now, one thing I like to say and share is that, and I think it's important to be in the space and be authentic. This did not, I literally have hundreds of offers right now to do NFTs with celebrities, musicians, brands, and I've turned them all down. They have to be authentic to me. And me and Scott, I've been trying to build this collaboration with me and Scott since 2017. This is not something that I was like, oh, NFTs, we could make money. I'm going to start writing people to do something. Absolutely freaking not. Like, I've been working on this for 4 or 5 years now, you know, to try to make this thing happen. And it's here. The moment's here. So Scott composed 5 original tracks just for this NFT. And then we also have him doing some of his most famous beats as well. In addition to that, obviously I created a one-of-a-kind like visual experience to go along with that that's for, like, unique to both of us, that feels like what both of us encompass, but also tells a story, a historical story about Scott too. His story is a movie, by the way. You should just like go on YouTube and do Scott Storch. There's a Vivo documentary they did like 2 years ago. And it's like, that'll sum it up really great for you. And it's like done very, very well. In addition to that, I got Scott into motion capture gloves. And so, and you're the first one to hear this. I haven't put this out publicly. I've recorded his hand movement playing all the songs for this, and I've recorded and digitized the hand movement of him playing his most famous songs, and they will be available as an NFT. So you can actually own the recorded data of the way his hands move playing the music as well.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Okay, so I saw you posted something on Instagram as well. Can we get like a sneak peek? What's the theme? How many artworks?
Definitely.
Prices? Yeah, whatever you can say.
Yeah, I'll share it all. Okay, yeah, it hasn't, like, you'll just be like the first one to kind of get it. Cool. So there's 13 pieces in total, and there is going to be 8 pieces that are like have the hand motion data as a part of them, and so let's just kind of break it down here. So I've categorized it by 3 main topics. The first one being the motion capture experience. The title of the whole drop is called Evolution. And this kind of ties back into both Scott and I, as we've been kind of evolving as artists and kind of like our history a little bit. And we happen to both be from the same city, Philadelphia. We both grew up there, and that's where we found and discovered what we are going to do for a career path. And so yeah, my pieces will have, they'll have a little bit of everything. I'm going to do two lower price drawings for everybody. That way a lot of people can try to get in on those. There will be an edition number to them. I'll have some open editions, a couple open editions, single editions, and silent auctions. And so like I like doing a variety. I like giving everyone the ability to like participate. But then I also like having things be scarce and rare so they kind of hold their value. And so there's going to be 3 songs that I'm calling Scott's legendary tracks that will be included in there. I'll let them out here. One being Cry Me a River by Justin Timberlake, Scott Storch, and Timbaland. The next one, X from Exhibit. And then the last one being Still Dre from Dr. Dre. Or still Dre from Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, Scott Storch, and yeah, I think they're going to be absolutely wild. And then there'll be 5 where it's just Scott's original composed music for this NFT paired with my visuals with like this audio visual harmony. And there's a long one which will be just over a minute. And that's called Evolutionary. And this actually tells a pretty deep story. And most of the visuals that you'll see, or actually all of the visuals that you'll see, there is a story. The audiovisual experience ones, there's a meaning behind everything that I did.
Wow. Is it like pretty obvious, or do you have to watch it like a couple of times?
I don't think it's obvious. I think, well, if you know a little bit about me, if you know a little bit about Scott Storch, I think it becomes obvious. If you don't, excuse me, if you don't, sorry, I've been talking a lot today. If you don't, I think it's just visual. There's one piece that I broke down from Maxon Cinema 4D yesterday. I had a presentation, a live show with them on YouTube, and I showed one of them off. And during that, I had a lot of questions after, and they said, "Hey, is it just a beautiful visual, or is there meaning behind it?" And I was like, "Oh no, there's definitely meaning behind it." And basically, it's like these really vibrant turquoise like clouds, and there's like a hand coming through it, and the hand's actually holding a marijuana bud, like a nug, and it's got it in its grasp. And then there's like this yellow like triangle pyramid type shape that's neon lit up around it, and that like signifies like a halo. If you know Scott's story, Scott had a very serious drug problem for a few years, and he was able to come out of it and become clean. And he did that by getting off the life-threatening, very hard drugs that he was addicted to, and he was able to come clean using marijuana. And so the weed is kind of represented as kind of like a savior, in the sense that he built an empire off marijuana, and he literally collapsed his entire empire to nothing because of cocaine. And he has been clean, I think, for 7 years now, and been trying to been in the process of rebuilding. And he was just up for a Grammy nomination, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so, that one frame, it's like this neon, trippy heaven, or highlighting this marijuana bud in a way that's like, this unearthly goddess type moment. That was kind of the idea behind it. So like those things, like how would anyone look at that and know? I don't know. They probably wouldn't. But if you know ahead of time that everything is designed very deliberately for a story and a time and place that both Scott and I have both been in, then you'll understand. And some of it's just more personal too. Like Scott and I found out we were at the same club in Miami back in 2007, near each other, had no idea. And there's some other like family history that we actually are connected in that I just found out like last week. I'm not going to share that yet. It's pretty deep and personal, but I haven't even shared it with him. I just found out, and so like there's some crazy connections here as well. But yeah, I think it's reflected through all my pieces if you look hard enough.
Yeah, I will definitely look for those like details.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll just conclude it with this. You know, my drop is on 420, April 20th. It happens at 6:30 and 7 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time Zone. And you know, I appreciate everyone hearing me out, chat with me, and know I've always been in it for the craft, for the love of the art. Everything else is just kind of icing on the cake. And if the space is here, I'm in it. If it's not here, I'm still in it. So you know, I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you for having a chat.
Of course, I'd love to come on again. Let's do this again. I feel like we like barely scratched the surface of what we could talk about too.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can. And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. See you next Friday.